Have you ever noticed that the more you think about life, the harder it becomes to connect with people? It's almost as if the deeper your understanding, the less society wants to hear from you. This isn't just your imagination. Throughout history, thinkers who dared to question the obvious have often been ridiculed, pushed aside, or silenced. But why? Why is deep thought, more than almost anything else, treated as dangerous? When you stand next to someone stronger than you don't necessarily feel attacked. You may even admire their strength. If you meet someone wealthy, you might envy them, but it doesn't usually feel like a personal insult. But when you encounter someone who sees the world in a way that challenges your own beliefs, the experience cuts far deeper. It shakes something inside your very sense of self. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. A true thinker doesn't just present new ideas. They act like a mirror, showing people the limits of their own reasoning. And most of us don't like what we see. Intelligence is tied to identity. We are our thoughts, our beliefs, our understanding of reality. So when those beliefs are questioned, it feels like we ourselves are under attack. Unlike strength or beauty, intelligence doesn't just exist outside of us. It defines us, which is why people often resist it, not because the thinker is wrong, but because listening forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. This is why great minds, from Socrates to Simone Weil, often stood at the margins of their societies. Their insights weren't rejected because they lacked value, but because they made people uneasy. The ego resists discomfort, and protecting the ego has been part of human survival for thousands of years. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Studies show that when people feel intellectually outmatched, the brain's amygdala, the same region responsible for fear and threat detection, lights up. In other words, hearing an idea that makes us feel outsmarted can trigger the same circuits as facing physical danger. Why would our brains react that way? The answer is evolutionary. For most of human history, survival didn't depend on having the deepest insights. It depended on belonging. To be cast out of the tribe was often a death sentence, and so our brains were wired to value acceptance over truth. Harmony was safer than honesty. This explains why deep thinkers often thrive in private, one-on-one conversations but struggle in groups. A 2021 study even showed that people feel far less threatened by intellectuals in personal settings. But when others are watching, their defenses spike. Why? Because social status is suddenly on the line. If someone feels overshadowed, they instinctively try to dismiss or exclude the person who made them feel small. On top of that, our minds are filled with biases that keep us resistant to deeper thought. The Dunning-Kruger effect convinces the less capable that they already know enough. Status quo bias keeps us clinging to familiar ideas even when they're flawed. And the backfire effect makes us double down when our beliefs are challenged. In the modern world, this problem has only grown worse. Social media rewards simplicity, speed, and emotion. A catchy slogan spreads further than a nuanced idea. A bold but shallow claim gets more attention than a careful argument. In this environment, the deeper someone's thinking, the harder it is for them to compress their ideas into something that goes viral. And so, the world increasingly celebrates entertainment while pushing aside enlightenment. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer believed this was inevitable. To him, intelligence was less of a gift and more of a burden. He argued that most people are ruled by the will to live, the drive for comfort, pleasure, and survival. But true thinkers are ruled by something different, the will to truth. A hunger for reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. And that, he said, is where the isolation begins. Because those who chase truth often find themselves unable to enjoy the same things others do. Small talk feels empty, ambitions feel like illusions. Even pleasures begin to look like distractions. The thinker sees through the games society plays, and in doing so, risks no longer being able to play them. Schopenhauer once wrote that a high intellect makes a man unsocial. His reasoning was simple. The more you understand, the harder it becomes to ignore. And once you see the flaws in the world, it's nearly impossible to find happiness in them. But he didn't leave us with despair alone. He also offered a kind of roadmap. Deep thinkers, he said, must learn to embrace solitude, not as punishment but as freedom. They must seek out like-minded souls, if not in person, then in books, art, and philosophy. And they must be wise in how they share their insights. Not every audience is ready to hear them. So perhaps the loneliness of intelligence isn't a curse at all. Maybe it's a sign that you're seeing more clearly than most. And while society may resist, history has shown that the very ideas once mocked and rejected often become the truth future generations live by.